Since Frank Miller's vision has permeated Batman with The Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One, is there any hope for the future? Is there any hope for Batman? Is there any hope for Gotham City and the population? Or is everybody doomed? Does Batman, at the end of the day, not make a difference? Or is there some ray of hope and optimism somewhere here?
Well, I was going to pitch a Batmite story to the guys, maybe tomorrow. It's not Batman's job to offer solutions to real-world problems. There's certainly a lot of sociology and even politics, maybe, that you can read into it. But the prime job has always been to tell a story. It has to deliver everything that you might buy a Batman comic book for. The story has to be primary, and then the very real social concerns, okay, they're right behind the story, but it has to be a superhero, particularly a Batman story.
It's all about the human condition. It's always about us striving to achieve against incredible odds, about never giving up, and I think that's what Batman is about. My personal opinion is that Gotham City was bad before he was there, and it'll be bad after he's gone. Hope he never leaves. But also the sense is that where his change made is on the individual level. It's on the people that he's come across. It's the people he's helped and saved because he's infused them with hopefully the same drive and same spirit that motivates him. So therefore, you're winning on a much more personal level rather than a global level. You're never going to be able to solve the global problem in that situation, but you can affect enough people that someday all together you can make that difference, and that's what he's trying to do.
And he has a very draconian but kind of logical solution. All Batman's interested in is crime. And a lot of people eventually come to Batman's position. Jesus, I can't do anything about the mayor. But the little old lady across the street is hungry. I can do something about that. And that's what Batman does. Okay, so I'm not going to do anything more than take a murderer off the street. That's something. I'm not going to be able to deal with an environmental upheaval, but I can do this.
No more orphans in his mind. Never wanted to see another child orphaned because of a senseless crime. If he can stop one child from losing his parents, then he's won. That's a win for him. That's the bigger win you get, so that nobody else would ever have to repeat what he went through.
And he wins by facing it. That's what's interesting to me, the psychological sort of how internal the battle is, where you realize that in a book like The Killing Joke or even in Dark Knight Returns or in Year One, that his villains are reflections of himself constantly. Like Gotham conjures up these sort of extreme versions of him where the Joker is like, what if he descended all the way into his cave and fell into madness, or Two-Face is sort of like the duality of his life in an extreme, and by getting up and facing sort of his worst fears and projection of himself constantly in the city and in these villains, there's a heroism in that goes beyond what the outcome of it is. You know, that even if he fails in his story, even though he doesn't usually fail anyway, in that I feel like as grim and as gritty, like you were saying, as the world Batman is in, and regardless of sort of the social reflections you see in it or not or anything, he gets up and he looks at the ugliest parts of himself in the mirror and puts on the cowl anyway, you know. That's what he goes to face every day in the streets. And that's, to me, that is such a primal and powerful, to relive the greatest trauma of his life every day there's nothing more heroic, even if it's totally pathological. And all of those things that you were so instrumental, I think, in doing too, it always felt like these are his childhood nightmares come to life and saying, give in, you know. He doesn't. Like, to take it off and go be well-adjusted and go do what you're going to do, but instead he doesn't. He faces these things that are at the sort of, in the dark.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Scott. Yeah, as a way to continuously face your darkest demons, which is probably very healthy for most people psychologically.
Oh, absolutely. Well, guys, from Year One to Year 72 and to all the years yet to come, if I had to sum up for me personally why Batman is the greatest superhero ever created, why Batman will always be important, why he will always be relevant, it comes down to only one thing to me, and that is a character who simply believes one person can make a difference in the world. And for myself, starting at age 8, when I read this, I identified with that strongly, and I believed that somehow I could make a difference in this world in the time that I have here. And I think a lot of the readers feel the same way. And if Batman does nothing more than communicate that to generation after generation of readers, all of the great potential from the mind of Bob Kane and Bill Finger and Jerry Robinson and all of the writers and artists and editors who followed them really have an attempt to prove something dynamic and give something to all of us comic book fans who have now expanded to movie fans and animation fans all around the world, video game fans, that this is indeed the greatest superhero ever created. Thank you guys all very much. This has been a lot of fun. From the Bat Boys, we wish you well and enjoy Batman Year One.